Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and thank you for your patience. We are a few moments behind, but apparently the technology did not want to like each other this morning. So if you are joining us right now, we're streaming via YouTube, and hopefully you'll be able to gather that link and join us right here, YouTube Live this morning. Thank you for joining. I'm Marty Austin Lamar, and I am honored to serve as Director of Music and Creative Arts at Metropolitan African Methodist Episcopal Church right here in Washington, D.C. There's so much to talk about, and we're going to move quickly this morning, and we hope that we get the folks on over to the YouTube platform. We want to thank Sister Imani. She is working hard to figure out. We were just in work mode and everything was going well, and so seemingly there may be issue between the technologies and the platforms connecting, but God is good, and we're here this morning, and we are excited to have with us Sister Financier, certified financial planner, who will be leading us in a financial empowerment seminar in just a little while, starting at 12 o'clock noon. You can join me and this amazing sister, Danica Tokunaga here. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your patience. And you look like you are ready to share the information this morning. How are you? Uh-oh, you're muted. This doggone technology. Are you tired of Zoom? Are you as tired of it as I am?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Yes, we can. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I am so excited to be joining you this morning. I look forward to bringing some wonderful financial tips and news that all of your listeners can use. So I'm excited. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. So the numbers are going up in terms of registration, which is an amazing thing that is happening. And it lets us know that people are not only concerned, but they're also very curious about navigating these times specifically. So we're about 17 days out from electing, hopefully, a new president of these United States. Let me ask you, with the political uncertainty, how important is it now for all of us to really begin to look at our budgets and look at how we are managing our money, particularly as we are in this very, very intense battle for the White House? What thoughts do you have?
Yeah, well, I mean, if this year, 2020, hasn't proved anything to us, it has shown us that we absolutely must always have our eyes on our finances and understand where we are financially, and make sure that we have emergency funds. You know, and typically the typical emergency fund that financial advisors talked about pre-COVID would not have been significant enough to cover one throughout this period. So we'll get into that and talk a little more about just being financially prepared and how to deal with your finances in a pandemic.
Absolutely. So, you know, I tell people I'm very proud of my Southern heritage, and I come from generations of those that did the very best they could to pass down, you know, finances maybe, but definitely an understanding of managing your money. So for young folks, millennials that are now entering the workforce particularly now when there's so much uncertainty about job security, what are some things that they can begin as millennials begin doing right now to ensure that as they get older and hopefully once we pass the pandemic, that they are in a financial position to keep living life?
Well, for the millennials, I think this is probably going to be the crash course of a lifetime. I don't know that they will ever have an experience like this again. As you know, this is my first experience and it's your first experience with having to financially endure the devastation and the effects of a pandemic. So I think for millennials, this is a good opportunity for them to really understand and hone in on the fact that they need to be financially prepared at all times. Because just when you think that something, that has never happened before will never happen, it happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
I've been very blessed, and I share this with everyone. I don't take it for granted, myself nor my colleagues, that we are still getting a check every 2 weeks, that we are still able to manage and take care of our bills and to take care of our lives. But for so many right now, that is not the case. This morning I was watching CNN and they talked about the numbers, those particularly that are being affected in marginalized communities with the COVID epidemic. And that for many of us, the issue is not getting the health care, it's post your stay in the hospital, it's your recovery post and how that impacts our finances. So for those that are recovering from the pandemic, are there any things that we should be looking out for, any funds that are being provided, any opportunities that people can take advantage of just to help get them by day to day post being sick?
Sure, absolutely. So the government has done a really good job of making finances available. And I think even more than finances, different types of forgivenesses available for individuals who are financially affected due to the pandemic. So what I would say, your first resource is to go online, go to Google or whatever your search engine is, and type in the CARES Act, CARES, CARES Act. Look at the CARES Act, read through it, and find out how you can help yourself and someone else just by becoming knowledgeable and educated about all that the CARES Act can help you to achieve and how it can help to sustain yourself and your family throughout this difficult time.
Absolutely. Well, I don't want to put all the business in the street, as they would say, because we have a whole hour to share with you, and we are so excited. So if you have not registered for the Financial Empowerment Seminar, it starts at 12 noon. You still have time to get registered for that amazing conversation with our sister here, along with Sister Janet Oakley Huggins will be with us. Judge Clayton Aarons will be with us, and we will be in conversation. Most importantly, we will be responding to all questions that you have. So everybody take a listen. It says prepare today for tomorrow.eventbrite.com. Again, that's prepare, the number 2, day, the number 4, tomorrow.eventbrite.com. It will be put into the chat spaces so that you're able to go and still register. And if for some reason you are not able to register, if you go over to Metropolitan's Facebook page, please leave a message there and we'll make sure that we get you that information. So we are so excited that you will be with us. So we want to give you some time to go and refresh and bring all of your resources to share. And everybody else, you need to be like me, get a pencil and some paper. This is old school today. You need to write the notes down and then move quickly so that we can be financially empowered, particularly during this time. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in about 40 minutes. Have a great morning, and we'll see you soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to keep moving along, and you know that every third Saturday, we are so excited to share space and partner with the Lorraine Gilliam Health Ministry of Metropolitan African Methodist Episcopal Church. So this morning, I'm excited to have one of the leaders of that ministry to join us and talk to us about our partnership, and then talk to us about what we should expect to hear in the coming months. Mr. Richard Allen Brown is a member of Metropolitan AME Church and is one of the tri-chairs of the Lorraine Gillian Health Commission. His professional life is centered as a hospital administrator for Inova Health in Northern Virginia and is an adjunct professor at Northern Virginia Community College, making sure that other folks that look like us will also be administrators as they continue to journey in the medical field. Good morning, Brother Richard. Welcome to Cafe Met.
Good morning, Brother Marty. So glad to be here.
Thank you, and I love your background. We rise by lifting others. So I know that that's a big mantra for you, and that's a great part of the work that you do, not only at Metropolitan but also in the field. So tell me, why is it is more important now than ever to talk about health, particularly as it affects marginalized communities, even more specifically the African American community? Why is that an important conversation today?
Well, we all know, all of us here today know that disparities have always faced us, but now with this pandemic and everything else that's affecting us, these things seem to expand exponentially among us. So we think knowing is an empowering process for us. So we know and know it's a good thing for us to do, to share and provide education to our family, our friends, our church members, our community at large.
Absolutely. So today we're going to talk, it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and so we'll be having some very frank and personal but empowering conversations about those that have survived, and then some other information from a medical perspective. But what are we going to be talking about in the months to come? Can you share with us what's happening in December? November.
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity to join you every third Saturday at 11 o'clock. And so we have a roster really going out into the next year. But for November, our third Saturday presentation will discuss organ donorship. So we have a roster of resources that will join us and talk about how this is an unknown topic in our community, but we want to encourage people to consider organ donorship. And then we move into the month of December, where December the 1st is World AIDS Day. We too will bring another conversation about the impact of HIV and AIDS on our community, what's happening, what we can do to empower our community to learn and understand what it means.
Absolutely. We know that our communities are adversely affected by both of these chronic conditions. And so we're so excited that we have some space and that we have some heroes and sheroes that are going to come and share their journey with us. Now, if we had been in Metropolitan, we'd all be wearing pink. We know that. And then next month we'd have Donor Sabbath. But we invite each of you all to stay connected to us during this time, particularly during our worship experience, as we still will bring information and awareness as it concerns both Breast Cancer Awareness Month and organ donor and the topic of HIV and AIDS in this country, particularly in the African American community. So I look forward to the rest of this year. Can you believe we're already in November? I mean, man, the year has flown by. But it's been such a pleasure to have you all join us. So I look forward to our conversation next month. And I look forward to our conversation today with somebody that I think you know fairly well, Brother Richard Allen Brown. And so we invite to the Cafe Met space, Sister Marsha Turner Botts. I call it one of the members of Team Botts. Sister Botts is a native Washingtonian who claims active membership in Metropolitan since July of 1968, making her the fourth generation of her family worshiping at Metropolitan. She and Brother Carlos Botts have been married for 42 years, having raised their sons in Metropolitan, affectionately known as Team Botts. They have two grandsons and a granddaughter, very talented grandsons and granddaughter. In September of 2015, Sister Marsha retired after more than 42 years in the workforce, and most recently at the University of Maryland, where she'd been employed for nearly 17 years. Retirement has been spent volunteering, grandparenting, and prior to the pandemic, she and Brother Carlos enjoyed traveling to nearby sites and various places throughout the metropolitan area. Sister Marsha became involved with the Health Commission more than 10 years ago as a part of the administrative team, also involved in the couples ministry, and also in the annual Komen Race for the Cure. As a 6-year breast cancer survivor, Sister Marsha is among those who are blessed by God's mercies, a loving family, attentive community, and excellent medical insurance. We are so glad to have you with us this morning. Welcome to the cafe, Sister Marsha. How are you? Uh-oh, can you unmute yourself? Zoom strikes again.
Okay.
There we go. There we
Oh,
go. How are you this morning? It's a beautiful fall day.
It is. It's gorgeous out there. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. And we are just so honored that you are here to share with us. So I'm going to ask the first, what would typically be my last question. I'm going to ask my last question first. In this moment, what is bringing you joy, Sister Marsha?
Oh, gee, Marty, I thought about that because having watched Cafe Met for the past several months, I know you give it to everybody. And so because my life has become so filled with stuff over the last 6 weeks, whenever it's not filled, whenever my planner and my to-do list doesn't stretch, so far, I'm happy for a quiet moment.
A quiet moment.
A quiet day.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Indeed. Yeah. I know your granddaughter, so I know you can have your hands full sometimes.
Well, fortunately, virtual schooling keeps her well occupied.
Well, that is good to know. And please let her know that I did submit my order, so that I think I ordered some chocolate cover or something that I don't need. But anything to support Aria, I'm there.
I appreciate that. She appreciates it too.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So, Sister Marsha, can you take us back to the day you got the diagnosis?
Well, I think the day I got the diagnosis was a shocking day. The day that I discovered the lump that they've always told us to search for was the shocking day, because I would swear that lump arose overnight.
Wow.
It was in May of 2014. I was still fully employed and I was going through my morning routine. You shower, you dress, and I showered, and I was like, what's that? And where did it come from? And I swear it wasn't there yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And so rather than appear hysterical and, whatnot, I went to Carlos and I said, do you feel something about the size of, say, a nickel? And he says, oh, it's bigger than a nickel. So I knew I wasn't being hysterical. I felt what I felt and it was really there. So I went to work and I called my primary and they told me they'd see me last patient that day. It was a Friday. I told my director I was going to have to leave. He was trying to give me reasons why I could not leave. I'm like, no, I'm out of here. And when I saw the physician's assistant in my primary care physician's office, she's like, wherever you've been going to get your mammograms for the last 20 years, you need to go.
Wow.
So at that time, my care was at the hospital center. They saw me pretty much right away on that Monday. We did the biopsy. The scary thing was hearing someone in the hallway saying, I've never seen anything like that before. That was a little, disconcerting. But as it turned out, she's a resident. She probably had not. Later on down the road, say June or so, I find out that I have one of the rarest forms of breast cancer. Like it's called it's called a phyllodes tumor. You seldom see it. It's usually, well, the literature then in 2014 said you usually see it in women in their 40s. I was well past my 40s at that point. And the great thing is, when I asked my oncologist, said, well, I have to go through chemotherapy, we'll have to go through radiation, what stage is it? She says, no, this won't be staged. It has not metastasized, it hasn't gone anywhere. And so my great message for women who fear even going for a mammogram is just because you find a lump, just because you find something out of the ordinary, it does not mean that you'll be among the number who has to go through the agony of chemo radiation. Now, I did have to have surgery. I had 2 surgeries. And that's no fun, but it's a lot more bearable than the chemo and the radiation and everything that surrounds that.
Absolutely. So many families and in my family, have been touched by cancer in general and then breast cancer specifically. And what is happening now, as I was trying to, gather information, is that they're seeing breast cancer more in younger women. Do you have any thoughts about that? Like, what are some of the in terms of, and not necessarily in terms of the causes, but in terms of doing what you did, that you were very proactive, that you were very tenacious about getting what you need to make sure you told that director he needed to sit down so you could go and take care of yourself. How do you encourage now younger women to do the same thing?
Yeah. You can't let your fear overtake your good sense. I mean, you hear all sorts of reports on the news and the media, different sources. And it's one of those, if you see something, say something. If you see something, feel something, then you need to go do something. And if you don't hear it from anybody else, just know that every lump doesn't mean the worst outcome. In too many cases,
every lump,
but it doesn't have to.
Every lump does not necessarily mean the worst outcome. Absolutely. So I know that you are now the 4th generation of your family that has worshiped at Metropolitan. When all this went down, as they say, how did Metropolitan show up for you?
Oh my goodness. Metropolitan is a tremendous, caring family. And I hope that everyone in Metropolitan has a circle. It doesn't have to be a circle of 10. If you have a circle of 3 who will surround you when the going gets tough, that can be big enough. It turns out when I told one of the members of what we called then Josephine's Sisters was the breast care ministry that, I don't know if it preceded or if it was the same time as the Lorraine Gillian Commission, but anyway, presiding Elder Braxton had established Josephine's Sisters in honor of one of our members who had battled breast cancer some years ago. And I spoke to the woman who was leading that ministry at the time. We had the same set of physicians. I never would have known. Now, I remember when she was dealing with her breast cancer, but I never said, "Who's your doctor?" Because I didn't know I would ever need a doctor for such a thing. And we had the exact team. So I kept in contact with her. I had a coworker who had a friend that had just finished her journey, and she put me in touch with that person. And I remember her advice was, if it's in your budget, if you can possibly afford it, get a recliner. And I was like, why a recliner? It's because there are going to be a few weeks before you can lay down, and you will need to sleep. And so a recliner is your best bet. Now that wasn't within Metropolitan, but I had the day of my surgery, both surgeries, 6 o'clock in the morning. I had a couple of Metropolitan people who were there. And I remember telling Carlos that I dreamed about one person. He said, "You didn't dream it, she was here." And I was like, "Oh, okay." like she was here, like 6, 7 o'clock. He said, "Yeah, she was here." And when she saw that you were going to sleep through her visit, she left. But
wow.
Yeah. So
That's good medication. That's
yeah.
good medication.
Yeah.
Well, you're such an advocate, and I'm going to read some statistics to you. And these are statistics. These are the most recent statistics that come from the National Breast Cancer Foundation. In 2020, an estimated 276,480 new cases of invasive breast cancer will be diagnosed in women in the United States, as well as 48,530 new cases of non-invasive breast cancer. 64% of breast cancer cases are diagnosed at a localized stage for which the 5-year survival is 99%. 1 in 8 women in the United States will develop breast cancer in her lifetime. At the time of diagnosis, approximately 64% of breast cancer patients have local stage breast cancer, 27% have regional stage, and 6% have distant disease or metastatic. When you hear those numbers, what are you empowered to do?
To spread the word.
To spread the word.
Yeah, spread the word.
And I think it's always so interesting. I can't remember when, we started to think pink. I don't recall. But what I do recall is being in Tallahassee, and I would participate in the Walk for a Cure. And I just remember, Sister Marsha, every year going out to the North Florida Fairgrounds, and it seemed as though the bags that had the candles, that they would just triple. Like every year you'd come and there'd just be more and more and more. And so how do we in our community, particularly the African-American community, how do we begin to really share the very serious nature that is breast cancer? More importantly, people going and getting seen.
Yeah. I had a family member who was approaching her 40th birthday. And, she said, about the mammogram, it's going to hurt. And I'm like, it's uncomfortable. It's not going to hurt. And if you think it hurts, it's not going to be the worst pain you've ever felt in your life. It lasts for a few seconds. But, she's very well endowed and, quite possibly she feels things differently. But my thing is, you've got to get that baseline mammogram. And I know there's been discussion over the years about these start at 40, these start at 40 based on your family history, I remember I was 40 when I started. And as I said, I always got my exams at the Washington Hospital Center. So that would have been, somewhere in the, I don't know what year. Can't do the math that fast, but anyway, I remember the technician asking me if a particular type of density ran in my family. And I said, that's not a discussion that the women in my family ever had. I said, my mother and her sisters were born in 1914, 1916, and 1917. That was never part of the dinner conversation. And I have absolutely no idea. So you have to, if you're from a family that doesn't discuss those types of things, you have to go and find out for yourself. You've got to establish that.
And from your experience, does it matter where in the family it lives? Like if it's not your mother, but maybe it's your aunt. If it's not an aunt, maybe it's a cousin. Whatever that's there in the DNA, you think that there's still value in the conversation and the sharing of that understanding with your medical professionals?
I think so. They do it by degrees. It's a first degree relative, second degree, perhaps an aunt or a cousin. And certainly if it's your mom, they absolutely want to know that connection.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you are now a 6-year survivor, and you have made this, you've become an advocate, as well as, because I know we talked before and I've seen your work at the church, a bit of an expert as it concerns breast cancer. If there was one thing that you wanted people to know about the disease and the dispelling of myths, what would that be?
Just one thing? Can I make it two things?
You can make it too. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You can make
So,
it too.
one thing, don't think of it as a death sentence that's going to alter your life in some uncomfortable way. Yes, know that it will alter your life. I mean, even 6 years later, I'm still having to, and probably, I don't know to what age, always have to have an annual mammogram. And as a result of the surgery, there's an additional test that I have to have every 2 years. But make a good connection with your physician and follow up doing what it is they tell you to do. I do wonder, these many years later, if we had known about the role in nutrition and how that plays a part in our health, if I would have eaten differently, when I was 20, 30, 40 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, because they tell you that even if you don't have a family history, that there are a good number of women who develop breast cancer just age. By the time you're 60, whatever, it's like maybe one in some small number of women that haven't done anything. They didn't smoke, they didn't eat red meat 6 times a week, but it finds you. And so the research is not revealed yet why this is. So don't think that you're going to be lucky and escape just because you really got to be checked, just like you need to be checked for the other areas of your body.
Absolutely. One myth that I had dispelled, this has been at least a decade. I remember, the usual routine, the post the shower, putting on deodorant, and I felt the lump. I was like, wait a minute now. I'm not supposed to be feeling lumps. I'm a man. And that led to a discussion with my primary care. And I was blown, Sister Marcia, at how many men also battle breast cancer. It is not discussed. It is not talked about, but that we now, and what he would say to me is that oftentimes it shows up, particularly in Black men, because of our diets, because of the things that we are eating, that we're eating overly processed foods. And so that goes to another discussion that deals with what we're seeing happening now with COVID, where marginalized communities are being adversely affected because we don't have access. Is there anything that you would expect? We're in the election year, we're 17 days away. What would you tell Black women to consider as they are going to the polls as it concerns access health?
Access health. Wow. If you happen to not be employed in a place that offers decent healthcare insurance, you've got to research for yourself what is available for those who are not employed at that level. And along with that, you've got to be really concerned about what you're putting in your body. I do not subscribe to a vegan lifestyle, but I do believe that we need to have a lot more vegetables and fruits on our plate than we do meat. And the dessert and those simple carbs. We got to go for the complex stuff.
I'm gonna call you Dr. Marcia. I'm gonna start calling you Dr. Marcia. And look, you have a fan club. Reverend Speaks Midnight, one of my favorite people. She says, God bless you, Marcia. And she wants to thank us for the conversation this morning. Thank you for joining us. Sister Deborah Fraser says, congratulations, Marcia. And somebody I think you know pretty well, Brother Carlos Boss says, great job, Marcia. Love you.
Yeah, right.
These are all posts on YouTube. So, Sister Marcia, we're going to have you back again because we had some technical difficulty. It happens every now and then where, the push from Zoom to Facebook is kind of interrupted. But we're going to make sure we have you back on because there are so many women that now are being forced to stay home. They still need to be reminded that you got to go and get checked out. You got to put on a mask, put on 2 masks if that makes you feel better, but that you have to go, So my prayer for you is that We continue to celebrate your survivorship and that you are continuing to find joy in some quiet times. Brother Carlos, let Sister Marsha relax in her corner in her recliner. And final message here is from the Health Commission that says there are several places that offer free mammograms in Washington, D.C. Thank you, Sister Eva Stevens, who is committed to sharing and providing that information. And we'll ask that you go over to the Metropolitan Facebook page and share that information so that the entire world, particularly all of the beautiful queens inside the African-American community, they can go and get tested and live full lives. Sister Marcia, it's been such a pleasure to have you with us this morning. And I look forward to getting you back on so that we can continue our in-depth discussion, particularly during this month, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Are there any activities that we should be knowing about? I know that everything is moved kind of to a virtual place, but is there anything that you think that folks could participate in as a means of support?
Well, if you go to the Komen site, Komen has been very busy. I get emails from them every week. They're pushing one thing or the other. So that's the first one that comes to mind. And there are some in the community that are specifically directed to African-American women. I'm not sure that they are as active this year since you can't really get out and do a race or walk, but you can Google, breast cancer health, African-American women, and you will see 2 or 3 organizations that will surface and see what you want to do to connect with them. Maybe not financially, but in other ways, they might appreciate your support.
Absolutely. And if nothing else, go get the information. Now, look, we're supposed to be wearing pink all month long. So you all pick a day, all of those that are watching, pick a day, put on your pink and tell somebody about the responsibility that we have to each other to get out, to get seen, and keep fighting for a cure for this devastating disease we know is cancer in general, but specifically breast cancer. Sister Marcia, thank you for being such a shero and coming in and joining us and sharing your story. And we thank God that you are well and continuing to thrive as both an advocate and a supporter of our community. All right, folks, we are jumping on over into the Financial Empowerment Seminar. And so I invite you again. This is the time. This is the time. We're 17 days away from putting, hopefully, another president in the White House. Prepare the number 2, DAY, the number 4, tomorrow, .eventbrite. Bright is spelled BRITE.com. It's also been listed on Metropolitan's Facebook page. You have a whole 11 minutes to go ahead, register, and to join us in conversation with our amazing Sister Danica that was with us at the top of the hour. Please know that we have a strong number of people registered already. We're up to about 40 plus registrations, 40 plus persons that will be participating and that have registered. And so we look forward to having you join us in just a few moments. Thank you all for being patient with us this morning. We're going to repost this episode on Facebook, and you heard it here. Go and get tested, go and get seen, put on your pink. Let's celebrate the healing power of God and the healing power of resilience and advocacy that we can all participate in. This is Marty. Thank you all for joining. And again, here's a flyer, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you very, very, very soon indeed. Have a great day, and thank you for joining us right here.